Honourable members, let's have some order. Our dear guests, please get seated quickly.
Those who agree, I mean.
Please get seated quickly.
It's t-shirt, not t-shirt.
Clerk of the committee, please proceed to administer the oath.
Crucifix or the Bible? The Bible. So you hold it in your right hand and then you follow this. I hereby administer the oath.
I, George Opare-Addo,
Swear by the Almighty God
swear by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
that the evidence I shall give before this committee
touching the matter in issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But please, if there is anybody here who is not ready to listen to the proceedings in silence, please kindly take leave of us. Kindly take leave of us. Nominee, in 2 minutes, tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is George Opare-Addo. I'm a lawyer by profession, and I'm an active politician. I'm married with 3 kids. Currently, I serve as the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. I am an active Presbyterian. I'm from the Equapim state of Edo, and I was born in Nima. Briefly, so this is all I think should be of relevance to the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Our members will proceed, and I'll give the floor to Vicente Koasafwa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. let me use this opportunity to congratulate the nominee for his appointment, as the Minister for Youth. My question to you is that, as you earlier indicated, you said you are the National Youth Organizer of the NDC.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
And so, because of our architecture of our political system, the winner takes all, there seems to be the belief from young people who are not necessarily aligned to your party that in the event that the NDC and its Minister of Youth has an opportunity to create jobs for young people, they may not be considered because you are the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Can you convince me and the people of Ghana, especially the youth, that you are going to be fair, you are going to be patriotic, and you are going to apply your role or your office justifiably?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, poverty knows no political color. And when His Excellency nominated me, the first statement I put out was that my doors are open for anybody, irrespective of political party, creed, religion, or ethnicity. I am here to serve the good people of Ghana. And as National Youth Organizer of the NDC, that will not limit me, and I want to assure this committee that my doors will be opened to every young person who wants to see some development and improvement in his life. The good thing is that, let me quote Elon Musk. He says, "Your education doesn't matter to me. Give me a code and I will employ you." I don't care which political party you belong to. Give me a proposal that will create jobs for young people, and I will work with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any further question?
Right. Honorable nominee, are you aware of the age bracket as far as the definition of who a youth is with respect to the UN definition?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In Ghana, we use the 15 to 35 rule.
No, I asked a very simple question. I'm saying that, are you aware of the age bracket for UN? Oh.
Mr. Chairman, if the honorable member will be a bit specific, because within the UN, there are two different definitions and age limits for the youth for age. There is a 15 to 24, and there is a 15 to 35. So I don't know which one the honorable member is referring to.
Let me
because
be specific.
UNESCO puts it differently, and then some other UN organizations also put it differently.
United Nations has a definition for the youth bracket to be from 15 to 24.
That is for UNESCO.
That's okay. The AU Charter also defines the youth bracket to be from 15 to 29. The National Youth Policy of Ghana also defines the youth bracket to be from 15 to 35.
That's also correct.
In the event that you have an opportunity to review the National Youth Policy, would you want to have our definition to be in consonance with what the UNESCO and the AU Charter is?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our situation may be slightly different to some of the developed countries around the world. And the challenge may be that whilst in other jurisdictions, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old will be very independent and be able to manage and live on his own, our economic conditions here are not the same. And so I believe that when our policy formulators decided to settle on the 15 to 35, they knew exactly why they settled on that. Because our socioeconomic programs and challenges that confront young people here may be totally different from challenges that confront young people in other jurisdictions. But as it stands now, this is what the law is in Ghana, and I believe we should work with it until such a time that it becomes necessary to change it.
Yes, your last question.
Honorable nominee, the NDC manifesto promises to create sustainable and decent jobs for the youth through strategic partnerships with the private sector, through strategic partnership with the private sector. Can you outline specific policies and timelines for job creation, if you can, and how will you ensure these opportunities reach marginalized youth in rural areas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For any government policy to affect young people directly, we must first be intentional and deliberate. Over the years, we've had a lot of youth policies, but because we've not been deliberate and intentional, we miss out. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has a vision of resetting Ghana. And by resetting, he's not only talking about resetting in terms of building infrastructures or what have you. We first need a mind reset. And for every young person to be productive, we must first appreciate the challenges that comes with it. For instance, let's take the agricultural sector. We talk about our grape not being attractive to young people, but the question we ask ourselves is, have we been able to break down agriculture to the young person, to him to appreciate that without agriculture, he may not be able to live? Because once his survival is threatened, he may begin to take agriculture seriously before we get into the issues of land tenure systems or what have you. And so we must look broadly at what the challenges are. Then the EC promises to create sustainable jobs in our manifesto, and that we are going to do. We are going to create jobs in the green sector. We are going to create jobs within the ICT space. We have spared the AU African Technological Strategic Report. It means that 350 million jobs will be needed from 2025 to 2030. Clearly, if Ghana is not equipped with the right skills, we will lose out. Also, the kind of jobs that exist today, the sad aspect is that most of these jobs in the next 5 to 10 years will not be available because of machine learning and machines taking over most of these jobs. So we must equip the Ghanaian youth for the next generation so that they will be able to take advantage and work hard. And most importantly, we also need the private sector. Without the private sector, we will not be able to create all the jobs we are promising to create. So government is willing, the youth ministry is willing to partner with government and create jobs. And we are going to create jobs in various aspects. The other challenge we have is that there are a lot of jobs too out there. But because we've not formalized those jobs, you will meet somebody who works as a bartender and she'll tell you, I don't have a job. The reason is that because no skills training has been given to such a person, and so he in his own little right thinks he doesn't have a job. But when you go deeper and you dig deeper, you realize that even his pay, how much is being paid every month, is above the minimum wage. So we need to formalize that sector and get the jobs working so that at least we'll be able to create all the sustainable jobs we are talking about. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, if you...
Thank you. You have a follow-up?
Yeah. Chairman, mine is just a guide. Honorable nominee, take it easy, relax, pay attention to the question. Brevity is the rule. The whole space is yours. Chairman. Bring down your voice, relax, take it back, and do the needful.
Chairman, you should know that he's not commanding the youth of the NDC here.
I am guided, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I will now give the floor to Honorable Adam Agbana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. Honorable George Opare-Addo, accept my compliments on your nomination, and I'm grateful to you for building a very robust youth wing, a youth wing that I am a product of. Today, I'm in Parliament because of the work that we started together in 2018 when I was your deputy, and I'm very happy that President Mahama has decided to appoint you as the first ever Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment. Now to my question. Having worked with you as your deputy for 4 years, I know you are very passionate about the youth. You are passionate about job creation. You are passionate about youth development. You're passionate about providing opportunities to young people. But in this public space, passion is not enough. With a nation under austerity, looking at the challenges that we are confronted with in our economy, how will you answer to the real questions of public policy implementation as against the challenges in the economy. I'm talking about the funding gaps. How will you raise resources to implement all the beautiful policies contained in the National Youth Manifesto of the NDC?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that when His Excellency President Mahama decided to set up the Ministry for Youth Development, he had a plan and a vision. And so I want to believe strongly that he will make resources available, even though we are under austerity. But that notwithstanding, if this committee graciously gives me the nod, one of the first things I intend to set up is a desk at the ministry that will go around the world and solicit for funding to support initiatives of young people, and that will pursue aggressively. Thank you.
Any more questions? If you don't have more questions,
Mr. Chairman, a follow-up.
Let me give the floor. You have a follow-up?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. The honorable nominee, on the issue of funding and establishing a desk, the Ministry of Youth used to be together with the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Now it has been decoupled. You are the first minister designate, or you will be the first minister when you are approved. Do you have any ideas how much, in terms of allocation, is likely to come to your ministry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I looked at the appropriation bill for last year, the total amount that was allocated to the Ministry of Youth and Sports was about 35 million Ghana cedis. I am yet to sit down with the finance minister and look at how much they intend to put in. But His Excellency the President, because I know how passionate he is about youth issues, I want to strongly believe that they will heavily fund that ministry so that we can help resolve the many challenges that confront the young people of this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Nana Asafo-Addo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Mr. Chairman, I'm grateful for the opportunity. Let me first and foremost commend the commander of the Youth Army of the NDC. And I want to also congratulate you for your nomination. It's important. My first question, I want to know or understand what your scope of work or what your ministry would be about, because it's a novelty. Normally we've had the Ministry of Youth and Sports together. Now it's been separated. So what will be your scope of work?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let's look at this scenario. Football is played by 22 players, or it's played between 11 players on both sides. Over the years, our focus as a country has been on the leather ball. The leather ball representing the Ministry of Sports. And then the human beings that play the game, that is the soccer ball, have been left idle. We have not paid deliberate attention to the human beings that make us enjoy the game. What President Mahama is seeking to do is being deliberate and intentional in setting up a ministry that will focus its main emphasis on how we can improve, develop, formulate policies that affects young people and see to it that the unemployment challenge and scare that stares at us every day is brought to an end. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, a follow-up.
Please do.
Mr. Chairman, a follow-up, sorry. I want to understand, how are you going to clearly segregate the youth issues? Because clearly we have youth issues under the Ministry of Health, we have youth issues under Ministry of Education, under various ministries. How are you going to clearly segregate all these ones?
Well, I will allow the question, but treat it as a substantive question instead of a follow-up question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, because issues confronting young people, if not treated well, will become a national security scare for all of us. President Mahama, identifying this problem, was very intentional in setting up the youth ministry. It is true, from what the honorable member said, because young people are everywhere, you find our issues scattered across all ministries. Yet, no proper coordination is done. Over the years, you hear that there is one issue happening in one ministry. There is one project happening in another ministry. And so there is a lot of duplication of efforts. What the youth ministry seeks to do is to sit in the center and coordinate all these activities so that we don't have the duplication of efforts that has happened previously, and proper attention is paid to issues confronting young people. We are being intentional, we are being deliberate in our resetting agenda. That is why we have this Ministry for Youth Development. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. You have one more chance.
Mr. Chairman, so still following up from your response, it means you're going to have the National Youth Authority as a sole agency under your ministry. No, let me finish, because my questions are limited. I want to pack them so that you get it. Now, if you are going to have the National Youth Authority under your ministry, do you intend to create other agencies so you would help coordinate all the issues you are running about us in the youth issues? How are you going to synchronize?
Mr. Chairman, can I answer now? Thank you. The EI that President Mahama issued in establishing the youth ministry puts 6 agencies under the ministry. And so it is not going to be the National Youth Authority alone. Other agencies are going to be there. And I believe the head of civil service together with the chief of staff are working to align those agencies. But the National Youth Authority, because of its acts and its mandate, automatically falls under that ministry. There are some special programs that we promise in our manifesto. And so as and when we begin to roll them out, His Excellency in His wisdom will decide under which agencies that they will fall. But most likely, most of them are youth-related, and I want to strongly believe that those ones will come directly under the purview of the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So the National Youth Authority was passed by this House. And then you clearly remember, Honorable, is a follow-up.
Are you referring to the National Youth Authority
Act, sure, yeah. I'm referring to the National Youth Authority Act, which was passed by this House. We remember or we recall that Honorable Kodo, Honorable Kwashiga went to court to get the court to declare that the 5% which is being given for youth development is null and void. How are you going to raise funds to support?
Hold on. I believe that is not what the Supreme Court judgment said. The Supreme Court judgment interpreted a constitutional provision in relation to what constitutes total revenue. And this has nothing to do with national youth. That's what the decision says in the case of Odo and Koshiga versus Attorney General. So please, if you have another question, proceed to answer. Proceed to ask.
Mr. Chairman, the NDC ran several campaigns, and then under your time, I mean, I heard you on radio talking about 133 formula, 101, 102. Can you explain it clearly to the House?
Mr. Chairman, I didn't run any commentary on 1001. If you can be very specific, I'll be able to give you an answer. But from what you are saying, I don't know which ones you are referring to, because we ran a few adverts and we had a few formulas. But
well, Honorable Nominee, you are not entitled to ask questions. Once you say you did not say that, okay, we take that for an answer.
Thank you, Mr.
I will now proceed to give the floor to Nana Osei-Adjei. Well, Mumuni Mohammed Nuruddin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nominee, congratulations. And I want to find out from you, a lot of your party youth went on rampage after the 2024 elections. What do you have to tell them? An example.
Hold it.
An example.
Please hold it. Hold it. Order. Order.
I will give you the evidence.
Order. Order. Honorable members, let's have some order.
Eyes and you watch national television.
Honorable Nuruddin. Honorable Nuruddin.
Mr. Chairman.
If you have the evidence that something happened,
Mr. Chairman,
and such a thing is coming from the people identified to be NDC youth, please table it for consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I will forward to the committee after this. In Northeast region.
Ask another question.
Mr. Nominee, some youths, an example, in the Northeast region. Allegedly. In the Northeast region, right after the election, the regional coordinating council was locked by some youth of the NDC. I want to find out from you.
Can you proceed to ask another question? Okay. Honorable Nuruddin, ask another question.
Mr. Chairman.
Order. Please, order.
I will not be
Please,
scared.
order.
I will not be scared.
Honorable member, let there be some order. I don't want to be mentioning names. Please ask another question.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nominee.
Let me help you.
Another question. Please ask another. Ask another question.
Mr. Nominee, I want to find out what plans do you have for the youth who are into agriculture in this country? I will not be scared. I will not be scared.
Please proceed to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agriculture is the backbone of every economy. And as such, His Excellency President Mama has a vision for young people who want to venture into agriculture. I started by saying that it is because we have not made agriculture very attractive. It doesn't entice young people to get into it. And young people don't even appreciate the need why they have to get into agriculture. So we need to sensitize young people on why we need to get into agriculture and also make agriculture very formal and very enticing. We want to start by first, because of our land tenure system, because most people struggle to even acquire lands to go into agriculture. As part of our manifesto promise, we are going to do what we call the land bank systems, so that people who have lands will make their lands available to their district assemblies and then form a land bank. And then if I am a prospective farmer, I go and assess that land. I don't have to pay for the land. But when I finish farming and then I get my produce, some percentage of whatever I get will be given to the landowner, like what we used to have previously called in Obwa in the Akan cultures. We're also going to start the farmer-based service centers. Because if you're a young farmer who wants to get into agriculture, the cost of machinery is so much that you may not be able to procure them on your own. And so you will need some support. Government wants to set up the district mechanization centers or the farming-based centers and procure these equipments, put them at the disposal of the assemblies, and then young people who want to venture into farming can go and have access to it, rent them at very reduced prices, and then they can use it to get into agriculture. We're also going to support with improved seedlings, fertilizers, and every other service that is going to help young people get into agriculture. And so under the watch of the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment, we are going to empower many more young people, turn their passions into purpose, and develop agriculture in such a way that young people will enjoy themselves doing it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any further question?
Mr. Chairman, my second question has to do with
third one.
The first question wasn't answered. The first question wasn't answered. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nominee, we all know in this country, illegal mining has caused our water bodies a lot of havoc. I want to find out from you what plans that your ministry has about the youth in illegal mining.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Before you answer, with all due respect, let's observe some decorum. Let there be order so that we can have the opportunity to listen to the question and the answer from the nominee. With all due respect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there is a Ghana we all want. And one of the things we want in the Ghana I want, illegal mining is not part of it. I want to see a Ghana where we do mining in a manner which is sustainable and doesn't degrade the environment in any ways. And I believe that is also the vision of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. And so young people who want to get into mining, first we need a reset of the mind. Until we reset the mind and re-engage them, there is an old way that they've done things, and we must re-engage them to change them from the old ways they've done things. We are going to work together with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources to look at sustainable ways of mining. Because I've always said that wherever there is gold and there is poverty, people will find ways and means of getting under the ground to take something out. We must eradicate poverty from the areas we find ourselves. And if we're able to do that effectively, by giving them alternative livelihoods, we may bring an end to that illegal mining menace. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I will now call on Yusuf, former Minister for Actual Youth and
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, first of all, I want to congratulate the nominee for his appointment, especially being the first minister for youth development, standing alone, because previously we have Minister for Youth and Sports in the various regimes. So I want to congratulate you. Mr. Nominee, my question to you is that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's administration launched a 10-year youth policy and also its implementation plan. Given that this policy is at the early stage and you are taking over, what do you have to make sure that you implement this youth policy, and how do you intend to address the challenges that may come during the rollout of its implementation? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have met the authorities at the NYA, and I've taken a brief from them. I intend to work with them on what they have started. I've looked at the policy, and I think it's laudable. You don't need to reinvent the wheel when there is something already in motion. And so we'll work with them. The good news is that President Mahama has put issues of youth at the center of his government. And so whatever the challenges are, I'm very rest assured I'll get the needed support from Cabinet to make sure we pursue it and make sure the action plan and the policy framework works effectively. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further question?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo roll out a lot of youth initiatives. And these initiatives, like the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, you have the Youth Start program, you have the YEA, you have National Service, you have National Youth Authority. We have various youth initiatives in most of the ministries, like youth in agriculture. How do you intend to coordinate all these things to avoid duplication? Because every year during budget, most of these ministries will come with budgets for youth programs. If you even take the Ministry of Lands, for example, Lands and Natural Resources, the Alternative Livelihood Program was also a budget separate. How do you intend to coordinate all these things to ensure that the youth of this country get the benefit of the various youth initiatives that we roll out during our time, and making sure that you maintain them and possibly bring in more initiatives? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The good news is that today there is a Ministry for Youth Development. Previously, it was not like that. It was the Ministry for Youth and Sports. And we all know that issues of youth, because they are scattered, forgive me, Honorable, but once you get into the ministry, the issues become too cumbersome. Your focus just goes on to sports. And sports is easy. When I say it's easy, not easy in the sense that there are no challenges, but it's a one-stop shop. And so you're able to deal with it. Luckily for us, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has set up a ministry that is going to coordinate all these activities. And so we will not have the duplication, because now information will be shared. And we're going to set up teams that is going to manage, and then there's going to be an interagency committee that will look at programs that this agency is doing, this agency is doing, and then we'll be able to sync them together so that we don't end up wasting the little scarce resources we have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are you done?
Yeah, thank you very much. On this note, I want to wish him well. It is a laudable initiative, especially making sure that we are able to judiciously use the taxpayers' money, and no different agencies doing different things, the same thing in different agencies. So I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm still on my left. I'll give the opportunity to Fred Che, Dr. Fred Che Asamoah. Honorable. Doc, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair, thank you for the opportunity. But first, let me congratulate my junior brother for his nomination. Honorable Chair, first, can the nominee tell us the agencies that are going to be, I know it's been repeated, but I want to ask him to tell us the agencies that are going to be under his ministry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Youth Employment Agency, the National Youth Authority, the National Service Secretariat, the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, which is not an agency yet, but then before you left, there was an act that was being worked on, and so I hope the act will get passed when we take charge. MASLOC, and then the Scholarship Secretariat. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, my next question will be, which of these agencies will you recommend to His Excellency the President to merge due to the duplication that is seemingly existing in terms of the functions? As a Minister for the Youth Ministry, which of these agencies will you recommend that we merge?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's early days yet. I believe when I take over as Minister, I'll have a proper brief from the various agencies, and then we'll be able to look at it and decide which ones we need to merge and which ones we need to keep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please, order. Please, order.
Honorable Chair, the OECD projects that in 26 years, the working population is likely to double in Africa. That means that 1 out of each working population will be found in Africa. Then also we know we have what we call not in education, not in employment, or not in training. With you at the Youth Ministry, how are you going to ensure that you can work with the Ministry of Education to make sure that we prepare our youth to meet this challenge, taking into consideration what we call needs, and also looking at the fact that the working population in Africa is going to double, and also considering the unemployment rate of our current youth in Ghana?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Probably that's the last question. That's why it's convoluted. Listen to the answer first before you decide whether you have a follow-up or not. Because the follow-up must strictly flow from the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our challenge is not just the working class increasing. Our challenge is that there will be no jobs for us or for our population because of the issues of IT and machine learning. And so we need to prepare our youth towards that. By 2030, there will be 230 million jobs that will be needed in the IT space. And that is why His Excellency President Mahama is talking about training 1 million coders. It may sound audacious, but even 1 million coders for the 4 years will not be enough for us to meet the challenges that lies ahead of us. We need to build capacities of our young people. Currently, about, if I'm not mistaken, the net population, not in employment, not in training, and not in education, stands at about 12-point-something% of the non-working population. It's a danger. The danger is that these are the group that anybody can fall on. So when we have vigilante groups, because if I have a job, I will not be a gun for hire. You will not even find me to hire me. But if I don't have a job, then I'm available to do anything that anybody asks me to do. And so I am more than willing to liaise with all the relevant agencies to find out how we can reduce that number, train them properly, reset their minds, because most of them are tired. It is not that they fall into the hardcore unemployment bracket, because they have tried severally, they couldn't find jobs. And so they've come to the end of their search and said that I'm not going to do anything anymore. We need to have a mind reset. We need to reorient them. We need to constantly engage that group, because that group is a national security threat. And I am going to work with all the relevant agencies so that we train them, look for opportunities for them, and formalize some of the things they do so that they begin to see it as formal employment, and then we'll be able to get out of some of these cankers.
Thank you very much. Strictly a follow-up.
Yeah, it's a follow-up. Honorable Chair, thank you very much. So, with respect to training them, that is where there's always a conflict, because we have Ministry of Education that is supposed to be in charge of skilling, and we also have other agencies that are supposed to be in charge of funds. So, if you say training, how are you going to ensure that you don't duplicate what is happening at the Ministry of Education? And you also talked about agencies that you want to collaborate. Definitely, you need to collaborate with agencies to professionalize your youth so that they can have some job. And also, you will need some increased investment to be channeled to this upscaling and professionalization. So how will you ensure that we cannot have this duplication that has bedeviled this country? And how will you also ensure that you can have enough investment channeled towards your ministry so that we can have the teeming youth well prepared for this new job? Because definitely there's going to be a lot of jobs that will be lost, but the amount of jobs that are going to come in will double. So how do you intend to make sure that you don't duplicate what is happening in other ministries? And how will you also ensure that you can get that enough funds or investment to support this professionalization and upscaling?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To find funding, you must go look for it. And that is exactly what I will do when I am approved as minister. I will go look for funding wherever there is funding. We will have to knock on every door. We'll also appeal to traditional authorities, local individuals, organizations, wherever we can find resources. In other jurisdictions, individuals contribute significantly. People make money and then give them out. We've seen a lot from the Jeff Bezos, the Donald, what's he called? Bill Gates and co. A lot of them. And so we'll reach out to, and in Ghana, there are so many individuals who are capable of doing that. And then we'll write their names in gold in the history of this country that they supported Ghana, did ABCD. And so we'll find funding. We'll also collaborate effectively with all the ministries. Luckily for us today, there is a ministry solely for youth development and empowerment. And so our task is to coordinate with all the various agencies and ministries. So if education is doing anything, just let us know, so that we also tell you that no, employment is doing the same. So channel these resources into this area. By doing so, with effective collaboration, we'll be able to end the issues of duplication. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. It's not a turn of Honorable Habib.
Thank you,
Deputy Whip.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman.
Honorable Muhammad Yarga has a follow-up. No. Oh, okay, yes.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations, nominee. Chairman, I want to find out from the nominee. Your ministry is Ministry for Youth Development. Many a time, majority of violence and other things that happen in the country, youth are involved. Post-election violence. I want to get your view on post-election violence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My ministry is Ministry for Youth Development and Empowerment. The Ghana we want requires the active participation of the youth who constitute the majority of the Ghanaian population. Resetting Ghana means total re-engagement, that is reorienting their minds, engaging them, and building for all of us the Ghana that we'll be proud of. Violence has no place in the Ghana I want. And so, as minister, I am going to work effectively with the relevant agencies, the young people out there, by finding for them sustainable jobs. If we don't address the challenge of unemployment, we'll always have these issues of violence always staring at us in the face. If I have a job in the morning, and you call me to come anywhere, and I'm going to work, there is no way I'll follow you there. And so we will tackle aggressively the issue of unemployment. And by doing so, we'll render skills training, we'll try and put everybody who is willing and able to work, so that we'll be able to change the narrative, and then these issues of post-election violence do not continue with us in our space. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Order.
Chairman, I understand the nominee is the current National Youth Organizer of the NDC. And then...
You know or you understand?
Chairman, I'm not NDC. I cannot speak to that fact. What about if he resigned before coming in here? It's a possibility. He could resign before coming for his...
How do you understand something you don't know?
So, Chairman, the nominee, are you still the National Youth Organizer of the NDC?
Mr. Chairman, I currently remain the National Youth Organizer of the NDC. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, Chairman, now that it has been established, let me now ask my question. As National Youth Organizer of the NDC, what is your message to the youth out there on post-election violence?
This question has been asked and answered, but I will give him the opportunity to repeat the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Violence has no space in national development, and so nobody should subscribe to it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, let me just, my last question. You are the National Youth Organizer of the NDC, and you have been nominated to head the Ministry for Youth Development. It means that youth development, not NDC youth, but youth of the country. When will you resign your position as a National Youth Organizer so that people will see you as a minister of state, not a minister that for NDC youth? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When the time comes, I will resign. Thank you.
Thank you. We now proceed to Honorable Patrick Boma. Obama. I will now give the floor to Minority Leader.
So that you come back, he's not ready. Yeah, so no problem. Jerry, would you have your mic?
Honorable Leader, you have the floor.
Mr. Nominee, you've given your name as George Opare-Addo, Esquire.
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
Have you, since birth, had this name and no other name?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a local name, but it's not on any of my certificates. So when I write it, I don't write it. My mother has a pet name she calls me.
Is this a name you have on your birth certificate?
Yes, please. On my birth certificate, it reads George Opare-Addo.
Please, you've given your residential address as Maple Avenue, Agbo-ba, Accra, on page 1 of your CV.
That's correct, Mr.
Respectfully, tell this committee how long you've lived at this residential address.
If I am not mistaken, ever since the NDC lost in 2016, because for 8 years I was domiciled in Ekropon when I was MCE. So when I lost, I moved to that address. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, respectfully, do I take it that this was a property you acquired yourself, or you rented it immediately you moved out of government bungalow into it?
Mr. Chairman, it is my own property. Thank you.
Honorable nominee, are you able to tell us whether you have title to this your property?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not at the moment. I'm still working on the title because the area was demarcated, and I'm sure there was a ruling not too long ago on lands in those areas. And so we are still in the issues of resolving the issues of title. Thank you.
Are you aware of the laws of Ghana on property tax?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm aware of that.
Have you paid any tax to the state since... Wait, I'm not done. Have you paid any tax to the state since you bought this property?
Mr. Chairman, I did not buy the property. And every year I pay my property rate. The district assembly sends a rate to me and then I pay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let me go to the educational background column of your CV, still on page 1. I know for a fact that non-LLB holders who desire to pursue the law program at the Ghana School of Law for some time back had to study for a qualifying certificate in law. On your CV, you state that you are a holder of LLB from GIMPA, and at the same time, you state that you pursued qualifying certificate of law from Ghana School of Law. If it pleases you, would you want Mr. Chairman's leave to amend this record?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. It's a mistake, and I'm sure it was an oversight. So I'll need Mr. Chairman's to amend his leave to amend the CV. Thank you.
So may you take Mr. Chairman's leave to amend your CV and specifically what you would want to amend, and do so aloud.
So if it pleases the chair.
Honorable nominee, I realize it's a typo. The P, the professional certificate, is missing.
Certainly.
So you can amend and add it.
Honorable nominee, if you be pleased, may you take chairman's leave to amend the records.
I've already granted leave that you can amend.
You should tell us.
A bit confused, if you can help me out.
Well, I noticed that what he's complaining about, QCL, can mean something else. Because the QCL, those who didn't go through law school have the opportunity to do that preliminary law course to get to the professional level. But anybody, those who didn't do LLB from the university, but you have done the LLB, you entered the law school, and you graduated as a professional lawyer. So it should be qualifying professional certificate in law. So I realized that the word professional is missing. So you have the opportunity to put the word professional there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm doing.
So what are you amending? No, he's still not done it. Colleagues, my dear guests, we are here for a serious business. Please bear with us. And Chairman, I think
Mr. Chairman, I have amended the professional certificate of law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Roxanne.
Chairman, thank you very much. Chairman, I'm surprised about Ranking's approach. It is the practice of committees of parliament that where clerical errors such as this are dictated and there are corrections, the corrections are deemed effected consequentially pursuant to the leave sought from the chairman. So it is not the case that the nominee must take pen, make the corrections around the table. The correction is deemed done consequentially pursuant to the leave sought. So the document before each member on this committee is deemed corrected. The members will take pen and do the insertion where appropriate. I think that the ranking member, who is a senior member of this house, knows this. So we plead with him. He should make progress on this matter. Chairman, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we make progress?
Honorable Chairman, thank you. Honorable nominee, page 4 of your CV. You have the hobbies: reading, playing football, surfing the internet. Let's go to the second one, playing football. How often or how regular do you play football?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Averagely once every 2 or 3 weeks, I find myself on the field to play. And I play with a few of the honorable members of this House sometimes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nominee, on the same page, you have references. 2 names are there. I shall first deal with the name Samuel Ofosu Ampofo. I am aware that he earned a PhD from GIMPA. Would you be fair to him to amend your records, which record currently stands at Mr. to Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, PhD? Would you? With the leave of Mr. Chairman.
With the leave of Mr. Chairman, I will make those amendments. Thank you.
Honourable members, amendment accordingly carried out.
Now, to take somebody as your referee, to me, means a lot. Share with us how Dr. Ofosu Ampofo has inspired your career.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you indulge me, Honorable Samuel Ofosu Ampofo was instrumental in me coming into mainstream politics. In 2008, he was one of those who identified me and pushed me to become a parliamentary candidate for the NDC in Dakri constituency. In 2009, when His Excellency President John Evans Samuels of blessed memory nominated me to become District Chief Executive then, he was my regional minister. And then within that same period, he became the local government minister. When I became national youth organizer in my first term in 2018, he was my national chairman. And so I have had him in all my space through my political life. And that is how come, from my political experiences, I have learned and garnered a lot from Dr. Samuel Ofosu Ampofo. Thank you.
Who is Richard Addo?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Richard Addo is my big brother and a business mogul in this country. I worked under him in the private sector when I was working within the private space.
The company IGIT Group of Companies, are you a director of that company?
Mr. Chairman, I used to be a director until I joined politics and he cut me out. Thank you.
Since you're a lawyer and some law students would want to know some fact, did you resign as a director?
Yes, I did resign, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have some shares in the company?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have shares in some of my family's businesses.
Honorable Nominee, I am only...
They are asking the question with specific reference to a company. So your answer should relate to that specific company.
Mr. Chairman, the name of the company is IGIT Group of Companies. So it is not just one company in question. It's the IGIT Group of Companies. That is why I said I have shares in some of the companies.
All right, so let's do a little exercise there then, since you are. Now, the IGIT Group of Companies, how many subsidiaries are there?
Mr. Chairman, I may not be able to volunteer that information rightly. I don't have all. I know there are a few companies in there, but I don't know the numbers because the company keeps growing. And because I'm not active in there, I may not be able to answer all the specific questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The IG group of companies, is it a holding company?
Mr. Chairman, like I said, it is not. It was structured. It was one company initially, and then we had other subsidiaries under it. But I left the company a very long time ago. In 2009, when I became municipal chief executive, I ceased working with the organization. But it sits in the family, so occasionally I find out what is happening. And I know I have shares, because my shares, I know how shares work. I have not relinquished of my shares and I've not taken them back. But I know that he's added on a few other companies. But as to what the structure is, I have not found myself asking those questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable nominee. I don't want us to enter the company law classroom. But your juniors at the bar listening, your seniors and your contemporaries will expect certain answers, because these are very specific matters of law which you and I cannot do anything about it. Is it your case that a group, the name you've provided, AGIC Group of Companies, is not a holding company? Is that your case?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's not a holding company.
I didn't hear that.
It is not a holding company, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable nominee.
Chairman, Mr. Addo, once you've told the committee, we are all students of the law, that IJIT Group of Companies has some subsidiaries, and it's trite, that is the holding company, with some subsidiaries they're under, with a different structure, directors, shareholders, and different shareholding structure. So don't worry, let's make progress on that. That's it. Yeah.
So that is why, I urge you to please pay attention, so that if we might have to do some corrections, or chairman would always grant you the leave to amend. I understand. We give out things to our secretaries to type for us, and sometimes they make mistakes. So I will move away from there. However, I need you to confirm whether the resignation that you tendered was a resignation to the Registrar General, where the Registrar of Companies, who is a custodian of all these the communications, whether you sent it to the Secretary to process it at the Registrar of Companies.
Mr. Chairman, in 2009, when I resigned, I handed over my resignation, the letter to the then Chief Executive Officer of the company. Thank you.
Now, Honorable nominee, you have indicated membership of bodies and associations. Are you a Freemason?
Yes, I'm a Mason.
Who is your mother?
Amity.
In all difficulties and dangers, in whom do you place your trust?
The Grand Architect of the universe.
To what extent do you assure the Ghanaian youth that this new portfolio given you will be to their benefit?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I started by saying that the day His Excellency nominated me, I put out a statement urging every Ghanaian youth to believe in the kind of leadership I bring on board. I am not going to be discriminatory. I'm here to serve the Ghanaian youth, and no other person. Thank you.
I'm going to ask the leader whether he's also a freemason. Yes. The way he's narrating.
The CV that you provided you indicated religion, Christian, into brackets, Presbyterian. Tell this committee how active you are in the Presbyterian Church.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not too active, but I'm a Presbyterian, baptized and confirmed a Presbyterian. Thank you.
Not that you go to church doesn't mean you are active.
Are you an active church? You go to church?
No, me, I'm a pagan.
Mr. President,
somebody's a Freemason, so I'm also a pagan.
Has recently told us that perhaps instead of enacting on the family value system, we should rather introduce the Ghanaian value system in our school curriculum. Do you fully support this view by Mr. President?
Mr. Chairman, I'm in full support of what the President has said. Thank you.
So just by way of recap, instead of Parliament enacting a law against this LGBT+++, you also share in the view that we don't need a law, but rather from our basic schools, our children must be taught and taught actively.
Honourable members, may I know where the view that we shouldn't pass the law is coming from?
Okay, very well. Chairman, thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, very respectfully, thank you for the question. I didn't want to bore us. Quite recently, when His Excellency had the honor of
Please go ahead.
When the President had the honor of receiving the Catholic clergy, the issue of the LGBT law came to the fore. Mr. President, in responding to the clergy, stated as follows, that one, he is aware that Parliament passed the law. However, since it got some potholes along the way, we already know the Supreme Court issue that came up. It didn't eventually get to the presidency for assent. That to him, a new discussion would have to come up, and possibly the Attorney General owning the bill. That is, it being owned by the states. Then he went further to say that perhaps if the discussion is escalated and we pay attention to introducing our value system in our schools for our children to know what our values are as Ghanaians, perhaps there may be no need to enact. So that's the background. That's the background. Now, having that background, I just want to know from you whether you...
I recognize Roxanne Dafamoko on point of order.
Chairman, thank you very much. Chairman, gratuitously, I was one of the people who sponsored that legislation. And I listened to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama carefully when he had that engagement. I think the ranking member and the minority leader is misinterpreting and getting the context wrongly in regurgitating what is supposedly is attributable to the president. I think if he wants to make his point, he can make his point firmly without linking it to what the president supposedly said or not. To that extent, I think that he's misinforming the public. He is suggesting that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama says that there will be no need to pass that legislation. And that cannot be accurate. With all due respect to the ranking member, that cannot be accurate.
Honourable members, from even the narration of the minority leader, he said the president says the Attorney General may have to own that particular bill. What is the meaning of Attorney General owning a bill that is not going to be passed? Definitely, from his own narration, it means that the bill must be passed, introduced in Parliament by his Attorney General. The bill itself is seeking to promote Ghanaian family value. Therefore, the introduction of that bill in our schools is in tandem with the very bill. So how can the statement be to the effect that he doesn't want that bill to be passed? So please, let's make progress. If you can, minority leader can veer from that point and then we proceed.
Chairman, I've learned that patience answereth all. Honorable nominee, there is a school of thought that holds a view that we should enact a law as Parliament to promote proper Ghanaian family value and sexual family values and our sexuality. There is also another school of thought that holds a view that instead of an enactment, we should rather introduce our value system in our school curriculum. Being the Minister Designate for Youth Development and Empowerment, well aware of the Gen Z thinking and how society has become fluid on a number of these issues, thereby diluting our value system. What option would you have out of these two schools of thought?
Option one, Mr. Chairman, thank you. A law being passed to promote our family values in our schools and also make sure that things are done rightly. So we cannot use Gen Zs as an excuse. The older generation has a responsibility of bringing them up right, and that is what we must do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, if God willing, you get the opportunity to serve in cabinet, do you assure the nation that when this matter comes up and these two schools of thoughts make a presentation, you will reaffirm your position on the enactment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
And yes, I've heard you. I appreciate that. The issue of youth unemployment is of concern to all of us. Would you agree to a suggestion to the effect that our youth do not take advantage of social intervention opportunities that are often introduced by governments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It cannot entirely be correct that our youth do not take advantage of social interventions introduced by governments. As a country, we've not been very intentional and deliberate about issues confronting young people. And so if we are intentional and deliberate, I believe we will achieve the results. We have paid a lot of lip service to issues that affect young people. And over the years, we have seen a lot of duplications, and so we have not built the right synergies to get the right results that we seek. If we put issues that affect young people at the center and focus and make the information available to them, I believe we'll be able to fix the issue of unemployment that confronts us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable nominee, I would give you a practical background to the question I want to ask you. I claim your attention. I've been 8 years assemblyman in my 4th term as a member of parliament. The youth of Efutu, that's where I know. So I will use that as an example to lay the foundation and see how you react to it. Will come, they want to be empowered. I'm doing business. I need money. I want taxi, work and pay. Buy me a car. I need industrial machine. Buy me, do work and pay. I need Prajia, buy it for me, I will do work and pay. I need Abuboya, work and pay. I need Albo Moto for fisheries, fishing, buy it for me, I will pay. I need canoe, buy it for me, I will go fishing and I will pay. My experience from Efutu is that a lot of these opportunities end up as giveaways rather than the funds being plowed back for, as I will put it, the second batch or another batch. I've spoken or engaged a lot of my colleagues in parliament. The story is the same all over. First of all, as MC for 8 years, did you have such an experience to the issue so that we can have a national conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was MC, we implemented a Let's Step program. Under Let's Step, I still know some of the people who benefited and are still using the equipment they got under Let's Step in the equipment of municipality. The challenge is not that our youth are not hardworking or they are not aspirational.
Honorable, with respect, that is not what I've said. Please, I'm careful with the language. Take it easy. Take it easy. I haven't used the word our youth are not aspirational. I have not used the word our youth are not hardworking. If we want to have a national conversation which will solve your problem and my problem and our problem as a political class, let's do so. And I think around this table, the nation has offered us an opportunity as a political class to confront this matter. If we choose to do partisan politics, well, I will leave the jury out there to judge. And you may not have gotten a golden opportunity. So please, take it easy and deal with the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The approach that some of us have used in resourcing our young people has been wrong. The manner in which we give out some of these items, it becomes giveaways. But if we put them through a program, a regime, and then we mentor them through a certain process, because other organizations are doing it. MasterCard is going through a similar program. Other international organizations are doing similar programs and are elevating poverty and resourcing people and taking them out. So we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to go back to these organizations and find out how they are doing it and why they are getting it right. And then we need to take out the politics. Fortunately for us, because we are politicians, we tend to look at our people first. And so we don't end up giving resources to people who genuinely deserve it. And that is what we must first check. Let's take out the partisan politics, and then let's begin to see the young people of this country as young people irrespective of which party they belong to. And let's listen to them. Let's put them in some incubators, build them, resource them, and we may get some coming out well. You may not score 100%, but with the right approach, right incentives, you may get a lot of them turning out right and then fixing this problem that confronts all of us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nominee, I appreciate your answer. That would be a happy one for a good theorist. But you and I know, as National Youth Organizer, your constituency youth organizers are expectant. Your regional youth organizers are expectant. The many youths who during the campaign took pictures with you are going to show you pictures that they were there with you. I agree with you that the approach by politicians could be a factor. But can we really detach from this? And can you assure the nation, including your own party members, that all social intervention opportunities aimed at empowering them, aimed at empowering the Ghanaian youth, will not be based on party lines, and that it will not be freebies. They would have to pay back to allow for another batch to benefit?
Mr. Chairman, I give assurances of the highest order. Thank you.
Now, I will lay a foundation on this same youth empowerment thing. You know, because I've been part of the District Assembly concept for a long time. I know this as a fact. President Rawlings, blessed memory, introduced this poverty alleviation intervention program. Many people got loans. They didn't pay. It became a cost to the state. Kufuor introduced Maslock. Many people got the funds. They didn't pay. It became a cost to the state. Professor Mills of blessed memory continued the Maslock and even further introduced some empowerment programs to support the youth. People did not pay. It became a cost to the state. President Mahama, in his first term, continued. I remember State of the Nation address, some youth intervention programs. In 2017, when Akufo-Addo came into office, the records at Maslock was to the fact that a lot of people took the funds, did not do what they did. In MPP, 8 years, same thing happened. They didn't pay. You've come in. Once again, share with us, with timelines, when you intend to introduce a system to change the psyche of our youth to the effect that when it comes from a political source, please pay. Because if you don't pay, it becomes a cost to the state. And there will be nothing more left for your brother or your sister who is yet to get it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish I could share with you timelines, but it is not feasible at this stage. I know what the problem is. We all know what the problem is. But we need to sit down with the state actors and have a thorough understanding of what the problem is. When that is done, I'll be able to tell this committee at a later date how long it's going to take us to fix the problem you are referring to. Thank you.
Honorable colleague, do you have your own youth agenda as you go into the ministry?
My vision sits with that of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama.
What is that vision? Share with us your vision on youth development and empowerment.
It's to build a merit-based society, a society where opportunities avail themselves to every young person, where we will empower them for them to take up the challenges of national development that awaits all of us. Thank you.
My worthy brother, I know you would have challenges. It's not easy, but with God on your side, I know it shall be well. It's not easy. I wish you well, and I pray that you are able to implement this great vision of yours. Thank you so much indeed for indulging me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Order. I will now turn to my right and take a question from Honorable Ayaraga.
Nominee, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You were asked a lot of questions about the fact that the other sectors that we have, say education, healthcare, housing, agriculture, they all equally pertain to the welfare of the youth. Their training, education, skills development, their economic conditions, health, and etc. And I see that you were pressed to define how you will coordinate activities across sectors. My question is, as the Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, you will get to sit in cabinet. Even if you are not a cabinet minister, you get to sit in cabinet, where all these policies in these different sectors will be developed, approved. As Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, do you see an opportunity to advocate across sectors to ensure that every ministry sector, policies, programs, whatever it is that they are developing, even financing, that they make adequate provision for the youth of this country?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe rightly so. That should be the norm because of the challenges that we are all confronted with, the issue of youth unemployment and the danger that awaits all of us if we don't deal with it. President Mahama, recognizing this, has set up this ministry so that we'll be able to add our voices and coordinate the activities of all the various ministries to help solve this challenge that confronts us. So rightly so, that will be done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You went around the country, you campaigned very hard, you sold the agenda of the NDC to the youth. They bought into it, and they voted NDC into office. And for the first time, President John Dramani Mahama, in an unprecedented fashion, has set up a special ministry to focus on the welfare of the youth. How will you grade President John Dramani Mahama in terms of his commitment to the welfare of the youth?
Order! Order!
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me use this opportunity to commend President Mahama for what he's done. When we opened the National Youth Secretariat, he made a commitment to the young people of this country that when given the nod to lead again, he was going to set up a ministry solely for youth development and empowerment. That promise he has fulfilled. He also promised that he's going to empower and appoint a lot of young people into his cabinet. I believe the list that has come, we've seen a lot of youthful faces. And so we commend President Mahama. On behalf of the Ghanaian youth, we commend President Mahama for giving us this opportunity, and we assure him we won't let him down. Thank you.
My last question. With the creation of this youth development and empowerment, and you know the word empowerment is itself very powerful, do you see light at the end of the tunnel in terms of the welfare and progress of the youth of this country?
Leadership, they say, is a cause. What follows are the effects of it. President Mahama has shown leadership, and I believe with his 4 years, the Ghanaian youth will set well. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'll give the floor to Honorable John Dumelo. Please, order. Order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, congratulations once again. And I also want to say thank you for all the good work you did in Ayawaso West Wagon. For me to become MP. My question is simple. I don't know if it happens in other constituencies, but when you come to Ayawaso West, you have airport traffic lights, Shashi, Oponglo, and in recent times, the ANC area. You have a lot of street guys there, the young guys, and sometimes they do bother a lot of motorists in traffic. My first question is there any plan for them so that they can stop what they are doing? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of those people you find there are children. And so I'll have to liaise with the Minister for Gender and Children Protection to look for a comprehensive plan and program to enroll these people in. But I assure you that we will do something about it. It's becoming a menace and it must be dealt with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. My second and last question. You did touch on agric, but as a proud farmer myself, I would want you to just elaborate something on agro-business. That is adding value to what we, the farmers, produce. You did talk about, farmers and the help you give to farmers. What about those who want to add value? What about those who want to set up their small industries so that they can all add something to the value chain? Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the manifesto of the NDC, we have a program that seeks to support young people, young entrepreneurs who want to venture into agri-business. Apart from that, we are also going to pursue an aggressive program where Ghanaian products can be marketed abroad internationally to the international markets. And so we'll be liaising with the Ministry of Trade and all the relevant agencies. And we'll also be helping young people set up cooperatives. And we are going to set up a fund that is going to support young people who want to venture into agriculture. It is all stated in the manifesto. And so once it rolls out, we will help support, because we cannot continue with the post-harvest losses. It must come to an end somehow, some way, and that we intend to achieve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do for you.
Do for you too.
Any further question? I will now give the floor to Honorable Zuera Ibrahim.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you and congratulations, my brother, my friend, my in-law.
Thank you.
And I call you Pablo. What else? Please indulge me, Chairman. I just want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you, Hajia.
And wish you well. You and I have worked successfully on 3 projects, and all have been very successful. I trust you. I believe in your capabilities. And I know that you are going to meet the aspirations of the youth of this country. The youth of Salaga South are upbeat. The youth of Ghana are upbeat. And I know you are going to deliver. May Allah be with you. Thank you.
Honourable members, I will recognize Patrick Boama. He promised to be very brief.
Very brief. Very, very brief. Congratulations, youth leader.
Thank you.
I know you are very energetic, and the youth of the country, not the NDC youth, are upbeat to see how you deliver to your new portfolio. But let's do some mathematics. I went through your manifesto. That's the blueprint of your campaign. And realized, I think it's paragraph 5.5, that's where it starts. It's page 156 of 200. Yeah.
Honourable members, I believe strongly our brothers from the other side are in love with our manifesto.
They did a seminar on it.
Chairman, tells you how serious we are, not wanting to let anybody slip through. Under your Ejumaura program, do you have it there, Pablo? Or you've chewed it?
We had the youth manifesto. The Ejumaura project is also in it, and then it found space in the main manifesto. So
that's right.
I'm able to speak to it.
I can tell from that paragraph that you are telling the good people of this country, your microphone, please, that you'll be creating 10,000 jobs annually in that particular program, given the fact that we have 276 constituencies. I don't know, if you have a calculator, let us know how many jobs you'll be creating in each constituency under that program. I did my mathematics, but I want you to tell the committee.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. In terms of constituencies, I will not be able to give a figure.
Oh, 276 constituencies.
No, if you indulge me.
We are 276.
If you indulge me. If you indulge me. The reason is that the urban areas have more people than the rural communities. The migration into the urban areas is one thing we should also consider in looking at this problem and creating of jobs. Currently, with our population, about 60.5% of our total population are within the urban areas. And so if I intend to speak to constituencies, I may end up leaving out some because of where the numbers are. But we intend to create jobs. And you see, I've always said that there are a lot of jobs in the system. Unfortunately, we've not formalized them. Let's take Accra, for instance. There are about 200,000 middle-level income households. And in each of these households, you will find a domestic worker in that house. We pay them an average between 1,000 and 2,000 cedis. Yes, some earn as much as 2,000, yes. The minimum wage is 18 cedis, 50 pesos or so. It comes up to about 820 cedis or so. But when you meet this person who works domestically, you tell he's unemployed. It is because he needs a reset. And so we must reset them to appreciate what they do. And then scale them up and add value to what they do. Because in other jurisdictions, we live in this country and people bring in domestic workers from from the Philippines and employ them. But we can do same. Let me give you another example. The National Service Scheme is doing something that we are not paying attention to. It's called accounting aid. We train over 3,000, 4,000 accountants every year. They come out of school and can't find jobs. Yet a lot of our mothers who own our shops in Makola, Cantamanto, have no basic knowledge of bookkeeping. Deploying these people to even go help them manage their books. And per the records I saw, in one area, one shop, one person lost almost 200 and something thousand worth of goods because all the goods had expired. She was just buying and not checking and taking stock. And so imagine we deploy all these young people and then set them up, give them the right training, and then ask them to go out there and help with basic bookkeeping skills for these organizations out there. A lot of jobs will be created in the ICT space. In the ICT space. That is what is driving the world today. If we put special emphasis on training and embarking on this 1 million coders program, you'll be amazed how many young people who will be able to set up. Because today, creating and opening of a business is not brick and mortar anymore. With your laptop in the comfort of your bedroom, you can work anywhere in this world. Business process outsourcing is happening. Call centers are happening all around the world. Knowledge process outsourcing. People with the technical know-how sitting in Accra on Zooms and then lecturing and impacting knowledge around the world. And so it is how we look at it and how we intend to fix this problem. And I assure you, Honorable Patrick Wama, we will get Ghana working again. Thank you.
So, thanks for the lecture, but my question was not, you intend putting together a formula based on the size of districts and constituencies to share these 10,000 jobs. That's my understanding. But it took me to another level. But I've gone through it. I know you have digital literacy, access, youth and skills development, youth participation in entrepreneurship, and what have you. I also saw that you want to set up establish a youth entrepreneurship micro scheme, institution, with a seed capital of 750 million Ghana cedis. We are under an IMF program. Your Minister of Finance was here, seated where you are, trying to cut down waste and trying to find innovative ways of raising revenue. 750 million Ghana cedis is about $46 million US. How can you convince Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen, who is seeking additional financing from the IMF and World Bank, to put in money into this credit scheme, not believing in the repayment of the credit that you intend to give out, which is a very good idea, but you and I know that it's not easy going after people who owe. How can you convince this committee that Dr. Forson will put in so much into this program? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Where Ghana sits today, if you look at the data and you appreciate the challenge of youth unemployment, 14.8% of our population are unemployed. Out of that 7.3 million Ghanaians are within vulnerable employment, and 1.2 million Ghanaians are within the not in training, not in education, and not in employment. This is a national security threat, and issues of national security should be treated seriously. I believe strongly that when we pitch with the Honorable Minister for Finance and we put forward a good proposal and we decouple this fund from the usual strings of politics attached to it, and what we seek to do with this fund, the vision is clear and there is a clear understanding. I believe strongly that he will buy into it and help us find the necessary funding to fund it. We'll also have to look elsewhere internationally to find funding for this. And so there are issues affecting young people, and because of the digital space we find ourselves in, there is a lot of funding out there. We will take advantage of it, go out there, seek that support, and get funding to come and roll out this program, because it will help change and re-employ our young people. Thank you.
Just a follow-up. I know the Green Army is right behind you. very up.
All members, please. We are in Parliament. Committee sittings is the same as parliamentary sitting. So what you have just done is out of order. We don't do it in Parliament. So if you do that again, I'll be compelled to cite you for contempt. And we'll send you to a privileges committee.
Chairman, and you'll be the same person to represent them there, since they have right to counsel. So, Mr. Addo, my good friend, my last question. You were very honest in your presentation that you give effect to the National Service Act, which was passed under President Akufo-Addo and the MPP administration. Which aspects of the Act will you be giving effect to enable you realize your dreams as a minister for youth empowerment, youth development and empowerment? On that note, I wish you the very best and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've looked at the acts. I have also looked at the national policy. There are a lot of good programs in there. I met the outgoing Director General, and after the brief, I assured him that I'm not the appointing authority, but whoever goes to sit in that chair as the National Service Director General, I will try and put the two of them in touch, so that all the knowledge he has, because he's very knowledgeable when I engaged him, all the knowledge he has.
CB entry, Doctor.
Yes, Dr. CB entry, very knowledgeable. All the knowledge he has, he can share with whoever comes to sit in that chair. Because I believe that if power changes hands, whatever is good must be carried upon. And I've seen a lot of good things in the Act, and I assure this committee that we will work with it and give it the necessary effect that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give the floor to Honorable Rickett Hagan.
I just finished. You are tired. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My good brother, Honorable George Opare-Addo, a.k.a. Pablo, congratulations.
Thank you.
I have no doubt in my mind. First of all, it's going to be a brief question because we've been here for a while and I think almost all the questions have been exhausted. And but rightly so, because of the position you are going to occupy. Youth unemployment is the biggest economic problem this country is facing, apart from our debt. So we want to make sure that the gentleman we are sending there, who knows so well about youth, will be able to, do the job. My specific question is that when, not if, you get a nod to become the minister responsible for the youth and the youth development and empowerment, very powerful post. What will be your grand plan, very briefly, about women development? You have Women's Bank coming up, but that is just a tool in the grand scheme of women's development. Just a very simple, grand plan to that you'll be able to, bring on board. Now, I just want to congratulate you. As I said, I have no doubt that you do a good job. The only thing I want to say to you is that up Santa Claus, stand up to honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Forgive us, Mr. Chairman.
Noisy boys.
Mr. Chairman, it's unfortunate. If you want the largest collection of gentlemen, you find them in Adisado College. Thank you. If you look at the data, women unemployment is high. It stands at about 60.2 or so %. And so we need to look at it from a different perspective entirely. I will need to sit down with the minister responsible for gender and social protection and then come out with a workable plan, one that is feasible. We have a lot of programs we'll be running under the manifesto, the National Apprenticeship Program, the 1 Million Coders Program, but we must do something deliberate for women and we must be very intentional about it. And I want to assure this committee that given the nod, we will do that to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members, for your endurance. I will now proceed to recognize the following people. Aina Garba, a spouse of the nominee. Oheniba SB Addo, nominee's father. Faustina Labi, the nominee's mother. Richard Yao Addo, brother. Reverend Francis Entry, Reverend Obuafo, Ose Adeayo, Kwesi Ekufo, Obuafo, okay, thank you. Ose Adeayo, Kwesi Ekufo, Ekwapim Hini, Nana Ansasa Sraku III, Mamfihini and Chidomhini of Akuapim State. Nana Otubo Jankwesi, Eburihini and Adontihini of Akuapim State. Osudunja, Osuodunja, Otutu Ababio, Edukromhini and Mamfihini of Akuapim State. Osajifo Ampim Anye Wenchihini, Ochechekro Kwamisachi Ababio, Abutachi Hini and Akuapim Asoso Hini. Forgive me if I don't pronounce the word correctly. Emmanuel Okaiminta, National Youth Committee Chairman. Order Harry Entry Kakari, Special Aid. Alhaji Farian Al-Hassan, renowned banker. Reverend Philip Makoni Doji, head pastor, Charisma House Chapel, Ghana. Abubakar Mutu Rahman, Esquire, lawyer. Osahini Bofo Ansan III, Krontihini Ekwapim. Awo Korama Nifahima Edukrom. Last on the list is Adisadel Old Boys Association. Santa 1999. Honourable members, I use the opportunity to thank the nominee for attending upon the committee, answering questions vociferously as a lawyer. You are hereby discharged, and surely you hear from the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Should I cite you for contempt? Should I cite you for contempt? Please, please. Please, please. We are still in Parliament. Parliament is in session. So tomorrow night.
Tomorrow 10 o'clock. Tomorrow 10.
No, tomorrow let's start at 9. My brother, I beg you.